not looking to play a bunch of dubious sidelines. He doesn't play online, to my knowledge, as much as even someone like Wesley. So I think we're going to get that more classical approach, especially if we're starting in 5 minutes, the longest time format.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's more likely to be someone who goes deep in the theory than mixes it up and tries to surprise. And just like that, we've got a mainline Spanish, Ruy Lopez on the board. Vincent, of course, black to start out. But as you can see there on the left, the position's still an opening book theory, not even a traditional computer eval. We're in very commonly traveled roads here.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's actually just no need to even give the evaluation, because right now this position has been seen so many times before that we can just draw on the experience here. Rook to e1, and Danny, this is really standard, and I do expect we're going to see not only a lot of e4, e5, but a lot of very main lines being thrown back and forth between these two in this entire match.
Yeah. Okay, well, Wesley finally plays the d4 pawn thrust, which is common in these Spanish positions. Sometimes you stop the bishop from coming to g4. Is Vincent taking a pause on that, or what's he calculating here? Because sometimes white will play h3 in these lines before you advance d4.
Yeah, the thing with h3 is, it's a move that prevents bishop g4, but depending on the position, you're not always scared of it. For example, if white didn't play d4 and black instead brought the bishop out to g4, white would just play knight d2, then play h3. And one thing black never wants to do in these e4, e5 positions is play bishop h5. It's very rare that you play that move ever because of knight f1, knight g3, and the best you can do is lose your bishop for the knight. So because you're never playing bishop h5, playing bishop g4 is usually a move that's only reserved if you're going to actually take on f3, and maybe white has to displace the queen. But if white just plays knight d2, knight takes f3, there's not much of an achievement.
Okay, yeah. And if black plays bishop g4 now, white can take on e5, which would force black to give up the bishop on f3. Otherwise, you end up losing a pawn at the end of that line. So Vincent pausing here, almost a minute down on the clock, which means, at least as far as the first game goes, either Vincent is trying to recall some deep prep, or he's been a little bit thrown off by Wesley's move order here.
Well, the evaluation bar is hovering right around the middle, and this is a great example of that bishop to g4 move. And what we were talking about just a second ago, there's a real purpose for this. You're actually threatening to take on d4, whereas with the white pawn on d3, you would never play a move like bishop g4 for black. So this is bishop g4 with intent. There's no time for h3 or knight d2. I mean, you can play these moves, but clearly black has an idea to capture that pawn on d4, or slide the knight on a5 back to c6 ahead of time, and then bring the knight into d4.
And this is strange by Wesley, and we see that black creeps a little bit ahead of 50% because of it. In an endgame here where black has the 3-on-2 majority, typically black is super happy to see pawns that are further advanced, because white's majority on this side of the board is just harder to use. So I'm actually pretty happy with Vincent's position, despite using that extra time. We're looking at an endgame where black is set certainly no worse, right? And I would prefer black to white, especially given where this came from.
Yeah, I actually think that the reason that he spent time is because he knows it so well, and he was pausing because something felt a little bit off. It was almost like, hey, you didn't play the move that I think is best, so let me pause because I might have a slight advantage here. And so far, he's playing it that way. It does look slightly better for black. The pawns can be doubled on f3. There's all sorts of control on the d4 square, which exactly I'm expecting knight c6 and maybe knight into d4.
Yeah, and again, this 3-on-2 majority is a long-term advantage for black, but is already in play, given that if black starts advancing, you're threatening to create a passed pawn. So the sooner you recognize those majorities in your own games, it gives you your long-term plan. And I think Vincent is in a great position to strike here in game one. And certainly if it's your first SCC, you like that you're the one pushing a little bit, right? Not quite a 2-result position totally for black, but I think much harder for black to be the one who loses this endgame.
Yep, and that time has already evened back up. It was time well spent. Wesley, the reality is starting to sink in that his position is, it's not terrible, but it's just not good. It's not ambitious. It's equal at best, and he has to figure out a way to continue from here. Wesley is actually really good, I feel like, in these types of positions. He's not the kind of player where if he's slightly worse, it will spiral to much worse. He tends to be able to find those resourceful moves that, keep the balance in the position.
Yeah. Well, he's got to find that here because, like you said, time was even, and now time has flipped the other way. Vincent up more than 30 seconds. And you already highlighted it. The main thing coming here is a knight into d4. Whether you take on f3 first or build pressure on the pinned knight, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Wesley has got to be thinking about ways to kind of change the center. Maybe e5. You try to open up more squares. Maybe you can get away with.
Yeah.
Okay, he goes rook c1. I was wondering if knight to d5 was the move, but the computer doesn't like this at all. Knight d4 would be great for black.
I think knight d4 was the threat, so it's strange that it's not being dealt with. And I'm wondering if he has a move against this that was he planning to be able to capture this and play knight c6? Like, what was he counting on that he doesn't actually have? Because it's not like Wesley to just, miss knight d4. He obviously knows it's coming. What could he possibly be doing? Because it's just a pin.
No, I think you're totally right. Maybe we could show that why it doesn't work. If knight takes d4 was Wesley's idea, his point would be that if you take d1, you have knight to c6, which actually looks like it's accurate. But I think the point that Aman would make is that black is taking back here first, and now both the knight and the rook are on pre. So either Wesley just missed that simple recapture, or I don't know. I think that's actually possible in game one of a match like this where you're still a little rusty, right? It is the rest day there in St. Louis, so shout out to Wesley So competing in the U.S. Chess Championship. But I think he might have just missed that tactic, Aman, that you highlighted.
Yeah, and I guess he's played h3, so I mean that's fully explaining that the things have been missed. So bishop takes f3, takes b4, knight coming to e2. I mean that's a look that Vincent just gave on the camera there that says, yeah, I know that I'm completely winning. Talk about a poor start here, Danny. This is Wesley failing to keep the balance at all, and looks like he was honestly just asleep to start this match and gets caught off guard.
You're right. And now in hindsight, we get to see the story of the game more clearly. You were totally right to call out that when Vincent paused before playing e takes d4 back on move 11, he was really just trying to remember that he knew Wesley had already slipped. And then it's been perfect chess from there, because if you look at the time log at the chess.com events, anyone watching there, that move on move 11, Aman, is the only move that Vincent took any time on. And from there, it's been perfect chess for black, where he clearly knows what he's doing in this line.
Oh, yeah. And bishop f4, absolutely correct here. Trading off the bishop, rook c5, pretty much the only move to try to stay in it. Now, he's trying to create a situation where he's got the blockade, plays opposite bishops, but we're going to see a little bit of Vincent's technique here, how good it is. And I think this is an important moment for him early on in this match to just showcase it, because I know it to be very, very good.
I agree, and we got to give credit to Wesley, because depending on what happens in the immediate tactics right now, this is a good move to attack the rook. I just want to highlight that if Wesley somehow got the pawn to b3 and this knight to c4, Aman, that would be the type of blockade that is super irritating. And look at Vincent, finds tactical solutions to his positional problems. Plays b3, which hits the rook and a2.
I'm shocked, Danny. I can't believe rook a5. He's missing a lot right now. Yep. Wesley is not focused to start off this match.
Yeah, he's gonna lose quickly here, because you're not even gonna win that a2 pawn, everybody. If you move the knight, this rook would come to a8, and Wesley has already seen enough. He just resigns.